All right, so story time, you guys. Last night I was laying in bed and I was thinking about this video I was gonna make today. I was ready to wake up and get at it, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, my 3-year-old daughter, cutest thing ever, comes in my bedroom, curls up next to me in bed, which is normally totally welcome, but she decided to take a huge pee while she was curled up with me. I didn't even notice. My wife woke me up about 3 in the morning and said, "You are laying in a huge pile of piss." So I had to get up, redo the entire bed. After that, it was it for me. I couldn't fall back asleep. So I kind of woke up feeling like crap today, but I've snapped out of it and we are going to make this video. So as you can see, my two favorite beautiful trucks behind me. We got the 2012 Tundra with the 5.7 and our 95 T100 with the 3.4. Both of these are incredible, wonderful Toyota engines. Some major differences in the two, but the two differences we're going to be dealing with today is that this truck right here, let's go ahead and pop this hood. So this truck right here, major difference is that this truck actually uses synthetic, and I believe it's 7.9 quarts of 0W20, and this engine actually has an element style oil filter where you just change the paper element on the inside, whereas this truck over here, this one has the traditional canister style where you change the entire oil filter, and this one actually uses a 5W20 conventional oil. I believe it's 5.5 quarts. All right, so let's talk about the Tundra first. Okay, so I actually looked at the mileage. I haven't changed the oil in 14 months. So as much as mileage is a major factor in the longevity of oil life, time is also. And they claim that no matter whether it's conventional or synthetic, about a year is as long as you want to go. Been 14 months on the white truck. Problem is, I've only driven that truck a couple thousand miles this year. It is definitely overdue for an oil change. So we're gonna knock that thing out. We gotta get it over with, and I'd be crazy not to do the black truck. Every time anybody goes and buys a new vehicle, I would recommend doing an oil change, checking the tire pressure, checking all the fluids. And although I checked the T100 when I first bought it, I have never changed the oil in it, and I don't know when the last time he did it, so we have got to do that. So I'm gonna knock both these trucks out back to back right now. We still have to head out and get the oil and filters. I don't know whether I should go to the dealership for the filters or whether I should just get some K&Ns at O'Reilly. Let's go get this stuff and come back and knock out both these. Main reason for this video is I wanna know whether it's easier to do a canister style like in the T100 or an element style like in the Tundra. So let's bring all this stuff back, and I'm gonna go ahead and time myself on each truck, and we'll see which one goes quicker and which one's easier. So let's go get the stuff and then we'll jump on this. All right. If you're new to the channel though, this is my 2012 CrewMax Tundra. We got some 22x12s, 35s. This is an awesome truck. I have nothing but good things to say about it. This is our 95 T100 right here. We got a Trailmaster 4-inch lift, 33-12.5s with the 3.4 liter V6. This vehicle also is badass. These two complement each other perfectly. I don't think I could ask for two better vehicles. So as you guys can see, we are back from gathering supplies. We got 8 quarts of the 0W20. Got the element for the 5.7 right there. And over here, we got 6 quarts of 5W30 and the filter for the 3.4. You know what's weird? A younger me would not have gone with Toyota oil filters and all that stuff. But you know what? We know OEM, nobody beats it. So I'm sure nothing is different with the oil and the filters. So we got a drain plug washer for both. So as I mentioned before, I actually got a stopwatch here, and we're gonna go ahead and time it and see which vehicle is quicker, the T100 or the Tundra. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. I'm gonna go as quick and efficient as possible, and I'm actually gonna let each vehicle have 8 minutes to let the oil drain, and that won't be included in this in the time to change the oil. So I'll give both vehicles 8 minutes to make it fair. But yeah, let's see what vehicle, 5.7 Tundra or 3.4 T100, canister style or element, what is easier to change the oil? Let's go. So I forgot to mention something earlier. You are gonna need this special tool right here to get the cap off the element housing on the Tundra with the 5.7. There's probably a way to get it off without this thing, but just go on eBay. You can get this at the dealership. I've had one sitting around for a while. I actually had an FJ Cruiser before I had the Tundra, and I actually needed this for the 4-liter that was in that thing. So I already had one sitting around, but you're gonna need to get one of these. So this piece actually goes on the housing right here, and then you can just toss your ratchet right in there and just unscrew it. All right, so like I mentioned before, I timed it out and gave it exactly 8 minutes to drain out. We're almost done. I'm gonna throw this drain plug back in. I'll do the same on the T100. So like I mentioned before, guys, as soon as I'm ready to film, somebody fires up like a chainsaw or a leaf blower or something. Well, today it's a dirt bike. All right, guys, so we're like halfway done right now, and I'm telling you, if everything continues how it is, then this Tundra is gonna lose, because this has been a dirty pain. This has been a dirty pain in the ass all along the way. So this oil filter right here is a Mobile 1, and you can tell it has those beautiful metal end caps. We got the red O-ring right there. Look at the Toyota, you guys. It is just the paper and some sort of clear glue plastic stuff in there. But again, I stand by Toyota, and this is good stuff right here. So they give you 2 O-rings right here. One of them is supposed to go behind this little drain piece. I'm not even gonna change it out. I'm just gonna leave that alone. I never even messed with that. If I would have used this, it might have cut down on the mess that I made, but I highly doubt it. Last time I did it, I used that, and it was still a mess. So, all right, let's continue on. Oh, one note real quick. I actually went and washed this in the kitchen sink as if it was a dish or something. I mean, tons of soap. Make sure you dry it out really good, because you don't want water in there, obviously, but go ahead and just clean this thing up perfectly. Also want to take like a paper towel and just go ahead and clean up the surfaces around that. That looks really good though. All right, and this truck actually takes 7.9 quarts. There's 6 in here and 2 more right here, and I actually love that. So there's only gonna be a tiny little bit left over. I've had vehicles before that call for like 6.1, so you actually have to buy a whole extra quart just for a tiny little bit. I mean, some people would cheap out and just starve their engine. Not me, but that's totally cool. So 7.9, pretty much all this oil going in. Done. Let's go ahead and stop this timer over here. What do we got? We are 23:17. Okay, I still got to put the skid plate on, but like I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I think we should fire it up real quick and make sure everything's all good. Then we'll restart the timer, get the skid plate on, and then that'll give us our final time. But let's just do a checklist real quick. A filter housing tightened, drain bolt tightened, oils in, caps on. All right, I just looked underneath. We are good. Let's get the skid plate back on. Skid plate on. All right, and our final time is 25:45. Okay, we are back, and it is actually the next day here. I wanted to get both oil changes done yesterday, but I just plain ran out of time. So we're back, but there's something weird going on today. I was just moving the Sequoia in the driveway, and let me show you what the temp gauge says in there. Now, the Sequoia is saying it's 88 outside, and the actual weather is claiming that it's 96 in Santa Cruz today. All right, well, either way, the moral of the story is it is really hot here, and I know some of you guys watching this are going, man, that is like a cool day where I'm at, but around here in Santa Cruz, 88, 96, whatever, it is super hot. I was just in the backyard swimming. with the girls for the last couple hours, and I had to pull myself away though, and I threw the dirty clothes I was wearing yesterday, and we're gonna jump in and do the oil change on the T100 right now. And of course, we're gonna do the same thing as yesterday, where I'm gonna time it and see if it's easier to do the Tundra with the 5.7 or the T100 with the 3.4. And we're gonna give it 8 minutes to drain, just like I did yesterday, and we'll compare those numbers. As you remember from yesterday, the Tundra was 25 minutes and 45 seconds. All right, with no further ado, let's go ahead and jump in, but let's talk about this 3.4 real quick before we get going. Let's talk about this engine real quick, the Toyota 3.4 V6. I personally love this engine. I mentioned before to you guys, I've had probably 25, maybe 30 Toyota trucks and SUVs, and this is the first time I've had this 3.4 liter V6. I've never had this thing before. This is my first one, and I really like this engine. I remember driving a 4Runner back in 2000 that was brand new with this engine, and at the time I thought it was a rocket ship. I actually got to drive it down to LA. Nowadays this thing's a little bit of a dog, but it is still a fantastic engine. So it is a cast iron block with aluminum DOHC cylinder heads, the DOHC of course standing for dual overhead cam, with sequential multi-port fuel injection with 4 valves per cylinder. This engine was a total success at the time. It only made its way into 4 Toyota vehicles that we have here in the United States. T100, the application that it's in right here, running 95 to 98, so only 4 years this thing stuck around in the T100 before the T100 was discontinued for 98. They put this in the Toyota 4Runner from 1996 to 2002. Also in the Tacoma, starting for 95. This was the brand new engine that made its way into Tacoma, which was a really big deal because it jumped up from the 150 horsepower engine that was in there prior that had head gasket problems, and to jump up to 190 was a big deal for 95. Also, this engine made it into the 2000 to 2004 Toyota Tundra, and I've seen some of those. That's the first generation Tundra, and some of them are manual transmissions. I've never had one of these before. This is the 5VZ FE engine. It has 190 horsepower, and do you guys want to hear a fun fact? This is the fun fact of the day. My Tundra with the 5.7, the one we did the oil change on earlier, has more than double this engine's horsepower. Not just double, more than double. That is wild. So, and this thing, like I said, 190 horsepower for the time was actually really good. For the Tundra 5.7 is a beast. So, more than double the horsepower of this 3.4 right here. Yeah, this is a great engine. So this is my first oil change I've ever done on one of these, but like every other older Toyota out there, this has a canister style oil filter. We're not using synthetic oil. This should be super easy, should be. And let's start the timer. All right, so one of the first differences I see is that the Tundra had 8 bolts to get the skid plate off. This one only has 4. So I guess double the horsepower, double the skid plate bolts. All right, so one thing I just noticed, guys, is the top bolts for the skid plate are a 12 millimeter, and the bottom bolt here is actually a 17 millimeter. Well, Toyota would never use 17, and they wouldn't use mismatching sizes on a skid plate. So this is actually, I don't know if this was custom fabricated or if this came with the Trailmaster lift kit in order to make the factory skid plate work, and then came with these 17s, and there's another nut on top. That's interesting, but I'm happy that these are on there and that factory skid plate works, because I wouldn't really want this all exposed right here. The next observation I have is that we got a Fram filter right here. Uh-oh, guys, that's a bad sign. When I see a Fram on an engine that someone's trying to sell me, I run for my life. Oh well, at least it looks like it's the Fram Premium and not the orange funky one, but that's okay. We're gonna get this thing off here. And it looks like there's our drain plug right there. Let's go ahead and get this thing draining. Also, let me give you guys a pro tip from someone who's been changing their own oil for a long time before I even get started. So back in the day, I would take the drain plug, drain it, and then figure out the filter later. But I like to reach up here and just make sure, like you can, and turn it a little bit. Get this thing loosened up first, just a tiny bit, so it's not like a whole issue after you've already drained the oil. Just make sure. The other thing I'm seeing is I don't know where this oil is supposed to go after it comes, once I start loosening that filter. It is just going to dump all over. So like I told you, this is my first Toyota 3.4. The design of this oil filter is bad. So I'm gonna give the Tundra 1 point here, even though that thing was a mess also. But all right, we'll just have to see how this goes. I'm gonna bring you guys underneath the T100 here. So there's the drain plug, and I just put the plug back in, but it completely drains out on top of the axle here. And if you feel inside this channel on this drop bracket for the suspension, you can tell that there is a bunch of dried oil gunk in there. So this is a poor design. I was certain after making a mess on the Tundra yesterday that the T100 was going to be better, but this isn't good. Well, that was fun. New filter here about to go in. So everywhere I looked, and just from general knowledge, this thing and all of these 3.4s take 5.5 quarts, but I decided to check in the owner's manual real quick, and I'm noticing here there's a special section for four-wheel drive models that says it only takes 5 quarts. This is insane. So I jumped over to the interweb. According to the internet, it is 5 quarts for the four-wheel drive models, which means that it must have a smaller oil pan to accommodate this front differential. That's not super common, but I'm happy I checked. It looks like we're going with 5 quarts. Like you guys saw in the Tundra yesterday, 7.9 quarts. I guess you double the horsepower, you gotta add 3 more quarts. Drain plug put back in, oil filter on nice and tight, oil in the engine, oil cap back on. And just like on the Tundra yesterday, before we throw the skid plate on, might as well take a look. Drain plug looks good, oil filter looks good. Okay, let's get that skid plate on. Skid plate is back on, and let's see what our final time is. 22:22. All right, so I've checked the oil about 3 times, and I'm not happy where it's sitting with the 5 quarts. With 5 quarts exactly, it was sitting at the very bottom. I think it's gonna be very hard to show it on camera. It was sitting right about there. So I added 0.2, and it's sitting about right there now. Not even at the halfway mark. A little under the halfway mark with 5.2. So I don't feel comfortable just tossing in the 5.5 like on the 2-wheel drive models, but I definitely wasn't just gonna leave it at the low mark. So 5.2 quarts for me, and I'll go ahead and monitor it and feel good about it. So I'm happy to announce the Tundra 5.7 versus the T100 3.4 oil change challenge has come to an end. And so I had already announced the winner before I even jumped into the T100. That Tundra with the Element, how messy it was, I was like, there's no way. The T100 is going to be great. The old school style, just take the canister off real quick. I thought it was going to be a lot easier, but there were some things that I ran into with the T100 that I really didn't like. I don't like the drain plug. When you take it off, the stream comes down, it splashes all over a bunch of stuff. The Tundra with the 5.7, there is no obstructions anywhere around, and so there's nothing to clean up there. I liked taking the canister, the Element housing from the 5.7 in the house and cleaning it in the sink, like I told you guys. It was as clean as a dish that you'd wash, and then I threw the new filter on and put it in there, and I felt like I just felt perfect about it. I never thought twice about it. But this one, again, when you take the canister off and it just dumps all over the side of the engine, it was just messy. You know what? Just being older, I think it was just less of a pleasure to work on. The Tundra, the engine bay is just so clean, and I felt like when I was done, it was just super clean. Just a better reassurance of no issues going on. The T100, don't get me wrong, the engine bay undercarriage is in incredible condition for how old that vehicle is, but it's definitely grimy underneath there. So it's hard to differentiate what grime is from what and what oil is from what, but the oil's changed on both. I couldn't be happier. Okay, so let's go over some numbers. As you guys have seen before, you know, that's the problem with working on cars. You see that? Now I got grease underneath my thumbnail. I usually keep some pretty clean digits going, but That is exactly why people pay to have other people change their oil, right there. Anyways, Tundra, I told you guys I gave them each 8 minutes to drain, so this is just, you know, I bet you I could cut this time in half if it wasn't insanely OCD, but I wanted to do a perfect job. But the Tundra, 25 minutes and 45 seconds, and the T100 was 22:22, so the T100 wins. But in a strange twist of circumstances, I'm actually going to announce the Tundra as the winner. And this is mainly because it called for 7.9 quarts. I put 7.9 quarts in. It was absolutely perfect, right where it's supposed to be. I told you there was a little confusion on the T100. I just didn't feel like it was as clean of a job. So if I had to change the oil again tomorrow, I would pick the Tundra all day long. We already know the Tundra 5.7, 381 horsepower is a killer engine. I was telling you guys it has more than twice the horsepower of the 3.4 behind me, and twice plus one. But either way, more than twice the horsepower. That is impressive. That is very impressive. Anyways, love the Tundra. Shout out to the Tundra. If you're new to the channel, go ahead, drop a like, subscribe. Stay tuned for more great videos. Have a good night, you guys.